Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and on today's show, we will be previewing this Sunday's home opener against yet another division rival, except unlike the Patriots, we actually have plenty of reason to fear them. Josh Allen is undefeated against the Dolphins, and Brian Flores has often had his worst coaching performances against Brian Daboll and Sean McDermott. Week 17 last year, with Buffalo now falling to an 0-1 start, this game, this weekend, could be the statement we as Dolphins fans have been waiting for. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, and let's dive in.
I'm going with one that I do think is going to happen. Not that possibly you could watch and see it's close to the board. No. I'm picking this upset. Miami's going to beat the Bills. The Bills are going to fall to 0-2. The Bills got to go down to Miami. You have that outstanding Miami defense that knows they don't have to worry about a running game at all from Buffalo. You have a Bills defense that I think is inferior to the Patriots defense from last week, so it should be a little easier on Tua. And I just think this is a golden opportunity, Wilds, for the Dolphins. All 2-0 starts are not created equal. If your 2-0 start is two victories over supposedly the two teams in your division you're chasing, and you already guarantee yourself at worst a season split, you start 2-0 in the divisional standings. I like Miami's coach. I love their defense. I think Tua will be better than he was last week. And one more really rough outing, and this Miami defense can do this to you. The Josh Allen conversation starts getting louder and louder. So I'm going to go ahead and say the Dolphins, 3.5-point dogs at home, win outright over the Bills.
Unfortunately, before we jump into the game plan itself, we have to talk about some key pieces who won't be on the field Sunday afternoon. First, defensive tackle Raekwon Davis. Davis is entering his second season after being taken in the second round out of Alabama last year. He had a stellar rookie year, and all accounts were that he was ready to break out. Unfortunately, very quickly into last weekend's game against the Patriots, Davis had someone awkwardly land on his knee, putting it in a position it definitely should not be. And we don't know the exact nature of the injury, except for the fact that nothing has been torn. He's not out for the whole year, because if that, again, were the case, if he had a torn ACL, torn MCL, anything like that, he would have been ruled out for the entire season. Instead, Miami placed him on injured reserve, which used to mean out for the season, but as we've spoken about previously, the new collective bargaining agreement has made some changes to the ways in which a club can manipulate their roster and traverse around injuries. So, if a player is on the final 53-man roster, like Raekwon Davis was, then he can be placed on IR, but then return to the team whenever he's healthy. He's going to have to miss a minimum of, I believe, 3 weeks, but he could very well be back helping us stuff the run by middle of the season. Again, going back to when Lynn Bowden Jr. was placed on injured reserve, he was put on the list before the final 53-man cutdown, which is why we don't have access to him for the entire year. Now that Raekwon Davis was on that final 53 and then placed on the IR in season, that's why we get to return him. But losing perhaps your best defensive tackle when you already struggle against the run is definitely not ideal. The onus is now on guys like Christian Wilkins to have an improved performance, and expect plenty of reps for veteran John Jenkins and Adam Butler as well. Both of them performed admirably last weekend in Foxborough. One thing to look out for is the activation of last season's undrafted free agent Benito Jones. I like Jones a lot. He is a true zero, a big boy nose tackle, and he could get the call up from the practice squad with Raekwon now out. Although, he likely won't get that call up this week. Why? Well, it's because of our opponent. The Buffalo Bills do not and cannot run the football. They have one of the more defined offensive identities in the NFL. They live or die by Josh Allen's right arm. Tragically for us Dolphins fans, they've exclusively been living with him against us, and it's time for things to change. Although those changes will be harder, not just due to the loss of Davis on defense, but Coach Flores announced on Friday that free agent acquisition Will Fuller will not play this Sunday due to personal reasons. Now, we here at the pod wish him the best. No one knows what he's going through, and if it forces him to miss a game, his first eligible game back, after he was already suspended for 6 games prior, then you know it's definitely serious, because he was itching to get back. He spoke to the media, I believe, on Wednesday, and he was very excited. So if something's come up, it definitely is serious. So we wish him and his loved ones well. Now, from a football perspective, the loss hurts. It may hurt quite a lot because, to be honest, Miami can't win a game like this 17-16. They have to put up points. And although I do have faith in this offense to put more points on the board than they have shown so far, having a burner like Will Fuller on the outside was going to open everything up for the offense. Now, we're going to have to wait at least another week to find out what that could look like. This could be insensitive, but I'm not working for the New York Times here. 5% of me thinks that this is a coaching move, that this is some smoke and mirrors. Again, 95% of me knows Fuller's absence is probably true, but that 5% of me, the small part that has adopted and enjoyed Brian Flores' mind games with the media and opposition, that small part thinks that we may have Fuller be a surprise activation on Sunday. I mean, it's possible. Springing a weapon like him on game day when the Bills have gone into their final walkthroughs not thinking about him, adjusting their game plan thinking, well, he's gone now, that's undoubtedly going to be beneficial for our squad, and that's the positive spin. But in all likelihood, Will Fuller will, in fact, be absent this Sunday against the Bills. Speaking of the Bills, let's get into this game specifically and what matchups we need to look out for. Starting with the first, Miami's offense against Buffalo's defense. If you have Myles Gaskin on your fantasy team, play him. I believe the key to victory for the Dolphins will be to run the ball. Not because that's how we put up points, no, but it's how we control the clock and move the ball between the 20s. Miami needs time of possession to be in their favor. We have to sustain drives, bleed the clock, and ultimately put points up on the board. Utilizing the running game will be a big factor in that. And frankly, it's a matchup that we can win. The Bills have a more lean defensive line. They're far better at getting to the passer than stopping the run. If Miami can establish that run game, then it opens up play action as well as the RPO. Tua is going to need to get rid of the ball quickly because if I had to guess, the Bills are going to approach playing Tua similar to how the Patriots did. Not really blitz much. Try to get pressure organically from 3 or 4 rushers with perhaps a delayed blitz here and there from the secondary or from a linebacker. And then, of course, flood the field with defensive backs. This forces Tua to hold on to the ball and puts pressure on our offensive line to hold up. I think they're up to the task. Facing Matt Judon last weekend was a huge test, and now with Austin Jackson back, I do believe they're going to be more sound in pass protection. If Tua is under duress, we're in for a long game. And I know a lot of you have zero faith in Austin Jackson, but I don't. I think he's going to do well. Our offensive attack starts up front this week more than others. I know it starts in the trenches is a cliche, and it's every week establish the run. But a game like this, where you're trying to control the clock to win the game, because I don't think you're going to shut down the Bills' offense, and we'll get to that. You just have to score more points than them, and to do that, you have to have the ball more than them. Tua's not just going to be needing to get the ball out quick to do that. He needs to be able to win with plenty of space underneath for his guys to make plays. To create that space, Miami has to test the Bills' secondary deep. And unlike in the past, even without Will Fuller in the mix, Miami is much better suited for that attack. I genuinely believe Jalen Waddle's going to have a huge game. Over 100 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Parker needs to be a factor as well. And based on how he looked last week, I believe he will. And I can just say, look, we've seen Devontae since he's a rookie. He looks better in that uniform. Compared to those earlier seasons, he doesn't look as lanky and skinny anymore. He's filled in and looks stronger. I think that bodes well for potentially, fingers crossed, a healthy 2021 campaign. So here's the game plan for the Dolphins offense this Sunday. Establish the run. Don't abandon it as quickly as we did against the Patriots. Feed Myles Gaskin, Savon Ahmed, and hell, get our bruiser Malcolm Brown into the mix as well. I want to see a healthy 4.5 yards per carry average, and I'd love to see more of the Wildcat implemented to keep Buffalo on their toes and toss in a few end-arounds for Waddle and Jakeem Grant to really space out the defense horizontally. Then, to create even more spacing, take deep shots early and often. Utilize deep seam routes for Gesicki, who was absent last week. Do not think he'll be absent this week. And find those favorable matchups for Waddle and Parker as well. And I think this week, our secret weapon, Albert Wilson in the slot. For the Dolphins to have a shot at pulling the upset here and taking a commanding 2-game lead in the division this early in the season, our offense has to come to play. And look, it's the home opener. There's going to be more energy in the stadium than there has been for years. I truly believe that. I mean, come on. Members of the pod, we've seen crap Dolphins football for so long. We know things are different. We know this team is different, and fans want to be there to support them. And unlike seasons past, where honestly it feels like half the crowd is pulling for the Bills, I have a strong feeling that Aqua and Orange will overflow the stadium. Do us proud, Dolphins fans. And my final thought on how we need to perform on offense, Tua. Bro, we have gone to war for you on this pod for months. Every flash and great moment has been picked apart and analyzed, but here's the thing. No more time for flashes. We need consistent greatness. We need Tua to play one of the best, if not the best game of his young career. Remember, it's only his 11th start, so he's still sort of a rookie in terms of playing experience. That jump that we were all expecting, it's got to be right around the corner. And a week 2 matchup at home against everyone's darling, the Buffalo Bills, and overrated Josh Allen, there isn't a better stage for Tua to arrive on. If he has a better game than Allen and leads the Dolphins to victory, then the doubters are going to kind of have to shut up. I mean, they're not going to shut up. They'll just say that he's being carried by a smothering defense, but screw those talking heads. For the fans, for the franchise, and for the team to continue to believe in you, Tua Tagovailoa has to play well in games like this. Win or lose, I think we're going to look back at this game as a moment that will help define our season. If we win a close, tight game, well, hey, we might be right there in the playoffs. If we win dominantly, well, damn, we're contending. If we lose, close, tight game, well, hey, we're right where the Bills are. We're still a playoff contending team. And if we get spanked, well, damn, we might have to look in the mirror. But look, the Bills feel similar. They can't afford to drop their first 2 games, right, against AFC opponents, both contending for the playoffs. It would show that the Bills have regressed if they lose, something I know we're all rooting for, but something that most people didn't expect. Miami needs to play a different game against Buffalo than they have in seasons past. It can't just be our defense trying to limit that offense. It's time for them to sweat when we're on the march. We'd just like to take a moment to thank today's sponsor of the show, MyBookie. MyBookie is always the right play. You bet, you win, they pay. MyBookie has live in-game betting on every NFL game. They've got the most rewarding player perks in the business, and for you fantasy football guys out there, you can even bet the over-under on how many fantasy points a specific player will score each game. To help yourselves out, as well as the show, use our promo code PhinsPod to get up to $1,000 match first deposit bonus to double your first deposit. Again, that's promo code PhinsPod to activate the offer. Visit MyBookie online today with the link in our bio, or visit mybookie.ag, and don't forget to use the promo code PhinsPod when creating your account to claim the bonus. Bet, win, get paid, MyBookie. And for you Dolphins fans who are in the Miami area, the team is hosting an event this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Miami Dolphins will be visiting the South Florida Flag Football League with the team's mobile claw truck. It should be a great time and fun with the community. Check out their website for details, but the event is going to be at Wimberley Field in Oakland Park, Florida. Again, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Love that our Dolphins are so present in the community, even right before game day. Moving to the battle of the day on Sunday, the Miami defense against the Buffalo offense. Boy, it sucks that Josh Allen is a cool 5-0 against us. Like, bro, he didn't even become good until last season, yet we still couldn't manage him. It's interesting, though. If you look at Miami's recent moves in the past couple of off seasons, it's kind of clear that they're trying to combat the Bills. No longer are we trying to beat the Patriots. We're trying to beat the Bills and the Chiefs, who kind of play like the Bills. The team building that we're doing is going to be put to the test. Last season, we didn't have Jason McCourty's, Javon Hollins, or Jalen Phillips. Last season, Miami's way of attacking the Bills' offense was predicated mostly on man coverage. Miami would put the pressure on their defensive backs to cover for 3 to 4 seconds, oftentimes 5 to 6, and then hope that they could put pressure on Allen with 4, sometimes only 5 rushers. Unfortunately, we rarely were able to. His mobility, arm strength, and understanding of his offense with Brian Daboll made slowing him down extremely difficult. The good news? It seems like their offense, is a little rusty. At least that's how it looked last week when they fell to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, their weapons are still top-notch. Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Emmanuel Sanders now, and Cole Beasley. All guys who can work coverage and get open. I think our game plan has to be different this time around. We have to be more confusing. I think our best bet, and this may sound crazy to some, but put the game in Josh Allen's hands. Empty the box, entice them to run, and flood the field with defensive backs. I want him to have to hold on to the ball because he's prone to making some mistakes. He definitely did last week. Mix in zone and man schemes to help keep Allen and Daboll guessing. Try to force those mistakes and his overthrows, which happen often when he's confused, to then capitalize on and get the ball. If the Dolphins win this game, it's because they won the turnover battle. Speaking of the running game, Buffalo doesn't really have one, and that plays to our strengths as a defense because our Achilles heel isn't pass coverage, it's run defense. expect Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, Nick Needham, Eric Rowe, Jason McCourty, and Javon Holland to all be on the field for extensive amounts of time. Rather than shadowing just one man with Stephon Diggs the whole game like they've done in the past, I would rather see the coverage on his side of the field just cater to him. Keep X or Byron where they're going to be, and depending on where Diggs is, shift your coverage there. The reason for that is so our defense can settle in and not constantly be shifting play to play depending on where Diggs lines up. That opens you up to be manipulated by their offensive play calling because they know you're shadowing him so they can create opportunities for other players. I want everyone in our defense to get in a rhythm. Having your guys stay put and play certain roles is the best way to do it, in my opinion. Keep X on one side, keep Byron on the other. So, entice the Bills to run, fill the field with coverage. So how do we win, though, aside from turnovers? Pressure. Damn, do we need to actually get pressure this weekend. We did not see much of Jalen Phillips last week, and that had far more to do with the game plan than anything else. Mac Jones gets rid of the ball very quickly. Having Phillips, a better pass rusher on the field, over Andrew Van Ginkel wouldn't really have made much sense, considering Kinky Ginky is a stud defending the run. Now with the focus being on pass rush, I hope to see a lot more of Jalen Phillips. Would love to see him and Emmanuel Ogbah forcing Allen to move around in the pocket and not be able to set his feet. That's how you get him to overthrow the ball and potentially force turnovers. Not only is Jalen Phillips big for this week on the defensive side of the ball, so is Byron Jones. Look, we paid the man a huge amount of money last offseason to come down here and build the best secondary in the league. He was aided by a historic season from Xavier Howard in 2020, but it's time for him to earn his money too. We need a great performance from Jones because he will be matched up on Stephon Diggs often as well, and at other times, he'll see deep routes from Emmanuel Sanders, Gabriel Davis with that speed. He cannot allow for big plays. The Dolphins can't just win the turnover battle this weekend. They also need to win the big play battle. So the 3 keys to victory for the Dolphins goes as follows. Run the ball and win the time of possession. Apply organic pressure on Josh Allen and win the big play battle. And you know what? It's prediction time. Before we get to the score, I do want to make this prediction. I do believe Miami's going to have more 25-plus yard plays than the Bills on Sunday. It's probably a stretch to some, but I think the Dolphins will go into this game with a similar approach to last week, defensively. Bend, but don't break. Force the Bills to take 3 points time and time again, thus allowing our offense to respond with touchdowns and holding on to a lead. To keep their defense honest and open up lanes in the run game, we have to take those shots, and we saw a couple last weekend. The deep shot to Parker on 3rd down on the sideline, the nice ball to Jalen Waddle, and that almost touchdown to Albert Wilson before a nice breakup by the Patriots defender. We need to hit on more big plays come Sunday to have a shot at pulling out this huge W. My final score prediction, brace yourselves. I have the Dolphins pulling this one out. We win by a final score of 31-26. Yep, Dolphins will score over 30 and ultimately win the war of attrition. What do you think? Am I insane for thinking we could score 31? Am I insane for thinking we'll win this weekend? Let us know in the comments below. Which matchup are you most excited to see? Specifically for me, I'm going to have my eyes on our first-round picks, the Jalen brothers. Both Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips have to play well, and I believe they will.
The last thing is I have a lot of respect for the Dolphins defense and Flores, but the one thing that I think jumps out is they weren't really able to pressure Josh Allen last year without blitzing or taking chances and putting people at the line of scrimmage. And that's just a no-no. Like, Allen is like Mahomes that way. If you blitz him, you're screwed. You're going to Screwedville. He's gonna throw a rocket for a touchdown. So I think it's a close football game, but I think ultimately I'm going to go with the Bills here, 30-24.
I've got 27-20 Buffalo. Same reasoning. Bills need this one. Sometimes you just need a game. Sometimes you just show up and you let your best players play. On paper, the Bills are better than Miami. And look, I know, hey, the Dolphins are 1-0. You got to give them credit for going to New England and winning. But this is week 2. We reset to 0-0. The Bills got that wake-up call. They got punched in the mouth by the Steelers last week. Josh Allen and company, I think, will be ready to go. They match up well, and the Bills get the victory.
That's going to do it for us here today. Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to Timothy Ritchie and Brian Guger, members of the pod and supporters of the show over on Patreon. Check that out. Links in the description, or head to patreon.com/PhinsPod. Thank you all so much for the continued support, and please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show, and subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. Remember that the show is available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and of course here on YouTube. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram at PhinsPod. I hope you all have an amazing day. Until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.